everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to do a spoiler-free review for The Bone-Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This is the first book in a fantasy trilogy called The Drowning Empire. The second book, The Bone-Shard Emperor, is already out, and the third and final book is set to be released in 2023. Now, I'm just going to straight up tell you that I absolutely love this book. And before I went into it, I actually wasn't expecting that because I watched a couple of reviews, and this book definitely has a lot of aspects that I normally don't gravitate towards. It has a hard magic system, it has multiple POVs, it's more plot-driven. Normally, I don't like that. However, this book did everything to perfection, up to the point that I couldn't help but love it, and I cannot wait to jump into the second book. Now, I went into this book more or less blind. I didn't really know a lot about the premise, so I'm not going to tell you a lot. I'm going to tell you the bare minimum, just enough for you to understand, because there is a lot of mystery involved here, and I don't want to spoil anything. Basically, this is a multi-POV story, as I said before, and we do follow 5 different characters. But we have 2 main characters and we have 3 side characters. The 2 main characters are Jovis and Lynn. Jovis is a smuggler in this empire, and this empire is basically built up of different floating islands in the ocean. It feels very tropical. And 8 years ago, his wife got missing. Now, he has a couple of leads that led him to believe that his wife was actually abducted, and so his whole story is about trying to find back his wife and trying to discover what happened to her. And then we also follow Lynn. Now, Lynn is the Emperor's daughter, and she is set to be his heir. However, that is true if she regains her memories. Because 5 years ago, she got a mysterious illness, and because of that, she has memory loss from everything that happened before that time point. And the Emperor is very clear on this. If she doesn't regain her memories, she will not be the Emperor, and this will go to the Emperor's foster son. So there's definitely a lot of rivalry between these two, which is kind of clear. And we actually follow Lynn trying to regain her memories, but also trying to learn other things that is necessary to become the Emperor. Then we have 2 side characters in this book that are very closely related to each other, because the first side character is the governor on one of these islands, and then the other one is her lover, who is much lower in society. She's more a street rat, and I really liked discovering and getting to know more about these 2 people, but also their relationship. This is a Severick relationship, and I loved how it explores being from different parts of society, because it seemed like both of them didn't really understand each other just because they didn't grow up where the other one was growing up. And I really liked the miscommunication here, and I think that this is actually the part where this story is adult fantasy and not YA. I think that it's very accessible. This is perfect for people who are new to fantasy or who are new to adult fantasy and want to make the transition from YA to adult, because a lot of it is so easy to get through. It has a very easy writing style. It's very simple, but some of the storylines are more adult, and I think that this relationship is a great example for that. And then we have a third secondary POV, but this is very different from everything else, because Jovis, Lynn, and then the 2 people on this island, you can understand why we follow all of these and how they get together to the main plot. But this 5th character, Sand, we don't really know why she is there. We don't really know how she connects to the main plot. And because of that, it almost felt like these were preludes in between. The chapters with Sand are also the least abundant. We only have a couple throughout this entire book. So I didn't really understand why she was in there, and I really liked the twist towards the end. But she's a very mysterious character, and I won't go any deeper into her plot or what her purpose in this book was. Now, because of that, I must say that I actually liked the 4 other POVs, the chapters where we focus on these POVs more than the chapters that we focused on Sand, especially because I thought that I knew what was going on there, and so it wasn't really that mysterious halfway through. And then, of course, there was a twist, and I didn't really know what was happening. Anyway, I did like those 4 POVs more than Sand's, but like I said, she only has a couple of chapters in this entire book, so it wasn't really slowing the experience down by any means. Now, going into writing style, like I said, this is a very simple story. It's told in a very simple way. You might think, well, there's 5 different POVs, all of them are very mysterious, all of them are doing different things on these islands. So isn't that very convoluted? Isn't it going to be dense? Isn't it going to be difficult to keep these stories straight? And I don't think that that's the case. I think that all the characters are introduced to you in a very accessible way. All of them are different enough that you can remember who is who. And I think that this also adds to the world building, that you can see this is a scene that's set with this character and this scene is connected to that character. So I think that Andrea Stewart did a very good job with that. But I also think that the writing style helps a lot. So like I said, you might think that this is a dense story. It's not. I think that for more seasoned fantasy readers, this might be perfect to read in between a very dense fantasy series, for instance. And this can definitely be a palate cleanser or just a snack in between in that sense. However, I must say that usually when I say this about books, those books will not become favorites just because you didn't really have the time and the investment to really think about that book afterwards. And I think that even though this is a more simple read, because Andrea Stewart does it so perfectly, this can definitely be one of my favorite books, and I actually think that this will be on my top 10 of 2022. So yes, perfect. I think that this has something that's there for everyone. Now, I must say that this is a trilogy, and usually when you have a series, you have a main plot in the first book, a main plot in the second book, etc. And so you can read the first book and feel like you've actually read an entire story, and then there is the background plot, and of course for this you need to read the entire trilogy. Here, I don't think that that's the case. I think that we actually really have a story that is in all three of these books. We don't really have a clear ending here. So I think that that's important to know if you are a binger of series, because then of course the third book is coming out in 2023, so that might be a long wait. So I don't think that after you read the first book that you are like, oh, I can wait, let's read the second one next year. I'm somebody who reads books of series with long time spans in between, and I actually do want to pick up the second one just because I want to see how the story progresses. Now, in the beginning of this video, I mentioned a hard magic system, and that's of course bone shard magic. Now, I'm not going to tell you too much about it because one of our POVs, Lin, is learning this magic in order to become the Emperor, because the Emperor tells all of his subjects that he needs to yield this magic in order to protect them against these foreign invaders that nobody has seen in decades. Now, Lin is learning this, and just the general strokes of the magic is that we have constructs. Now, these constructs are basically sewn together parts of different animals, and we can make them alive again by adding a bone shard with something scribbled, a command scribbled on top. You have very simple constructs, but you also have very elaborate ones, and the amount of tasks that they can do depend on how much bone shards you put inside of them. Now, I think that this magic system is quite interesting, and I think that if you like The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Thirst, this has a very similar magic system, you will like this one and vice versa. So that's a little recommendation for you. What I really liked in this book is, yes, we have a hard magic system, but we actually also have a soft one. And this is one that we only discover further along in the book, so I won't tell you which POV we find this one, but I really enjoyed that we have that sort of balance between soft and hard magic systems. Also, we have a lot of other magical elements. We have an animal companion here, Mephi, who is absolutely the best, and there's definitely something magical to him as well. So it's not just a hard magic system. Everything, in my opinion, feels very magical in this book, and there's definitely a lot of very interesting things to discover, and that soft magic system in itself also holds a lot of mysteries, which I quite enjoyed. Now, what I also want to say is that this book has a lot of twists, and it almost has a twist with each of the different POVs, and some of them I could predict, but because we get the information from each when we read each of the POVs together with the characters that we are following, even if we can see something going to happen in the future, we're actually still invested, or at least that was the case for me, because I had the feeling I know what's going to happen, but the characters that I'm following don't know that yet. So I really want to see their response when they find out. And sometimes I was almost convinced that something was going to happen, and then a twist happened that I wasn't predicting. So I think that even if you predicted some of these things here, it's not because it's bad writing, it's because you found the crumbs and you're actually going to be proud of yourself, and you're still going to be invested to know how the characters will react. Now, I think that this is still a plot-driven story. I think that the plot is superb, but the characters are well enough developed, and like I said, you learn alongside the characters, and this definitely grows a bond between you, and you will definitely feel invested in these characters. I don't think that these are highly realistic characters. They definitely feel like characters in a fantasy novel. So if you're looking for that, if you are looking for characters who are extremely nuanced, you're not going to find that here. But as a character-driven reader, that actually didn't annoy me in any way, sense, or form. So yeah, I think that you will like most of them. And like I said, a lot of them have a mystery to solve. A lot of them have a lot of history that you will get to know, and that you will feel for them, and you will definitely see where they are coming from, and I really like that. And I like the main characters, but I actually really like those two secondary characters a lot. Like I said, their relationship is one of the high points, I think, one of the selling points for this book as well. I also wanted to touch upon world building, because I think that this is done to perfection. You have world building that feels very rich without being dense. It's very easy to follow, but it feels like this is a world that's being lived in, and it feels like a very unique world. Just having a bunch of different islands floating on the ocean It seems so simple, but I don't really see a lot of fantasy books doing this, and because of that, it just adds uniqueness to the book. What I also really like is that we have our two main characters. So we have Lynn, who lives in the palace, she's very secluded, and then we have Jovis, who is a smuggler and who visits these different islands with his boat. So you have that parallel there. What I also like is that with Lynn, you see how these constructs are being built, and we know that these have a very specific and important function for the Empire. And then when Jovis is visiting these different islands, you see these constructs in action. So again, there is a parallel that I really liked discovering a little bit more of. So all in all, I really liked the world building. I also liked this threat of these foreign invaders that we don't really see anything of, and we don't know, is this an actual threat or not? Are we going to see more of this or not? Also, with the different islands, I'm not going to go into specifics, but something very interesting happens with one of these islands, and I think that just added to the world building and the tension as well. So all in all, I really can't say anything bad about this book. I absolutely adored it. I think that fans of Brandon Sanderson definitely need to pick this one up because you are going to love it. And even if Brandon Sanderson is a hit or miss for you, like he is for me, I think that you need to give this one a chance because it definitely has very interesting magic system. It has very interesting plot. I actually think that I like this plot more than I've liked any of the plots by Brandon Sanderson, to be honest. And it has great representation, which if you find that important, definitely pick this one up. Now, have you read The Bone Shard Daughter already? Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, or if you want to pick it up soon, of course, I would love to hear. By the way, I mentioned The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst, and you can find my review of that one here. It's completely spoiler-free, so definitely give that one a chance as well. I think that if you like the magic system in this one, you will like the magic system in that one as well. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye!